And here we have down in the bottom right, personal favorite of mine. In Brood War, he was top 3 control, I would say.
Oches, nada.
At least back in the days when he was dominant, he would do so much with so little. He would take like 2 Marines and a medic, and he would kill all the drones at a Zerg base, just dance them around forever. And here is one of the top Protoss players in the world. And definitely one of the best representatives of the foreign scene, Huckosaurus Rex.
I don't know, I feel like at this point, Huck's nicknaming has like surpassed that of Grak at this point, man.
I think so, man. It's a good thing Idra's coming back to the GSL because he's been out of the cheerful spotlight for too long.
That's exactly what I was going to say, man. He's just going to come back and perhaps they're going to fight to see who's going to make more puns with their names.
Oh, man.
I like that Huckosaurus Rex.
Huckosaurus Rex.
He's got those tiny little T-Rex arms he has to micro with.
And then maybe we'll see the Huckosaurus versus the Kraken.
That would be quite awesome.
Sounds like a B movie from the 30s, man.
Well,
and
we're at cross positions. Nada going to be doing a 1 barracks expand yet again. And Huck probably going to be doing the same 1 gate expand, same build that we saw Alicia do. We'll probably see a very similar opening to what we saw the last game. See if Huck can do a little bit better against his Terran opponent than Alicia. And Huck, of course, really well known for his probe harass, is going to continue to do such harassments right now. Pulling away right as his shields reach 0, gets out, in fact, in time, checks the gas, gets away before the Marine is out. Even come up there again, perhaps zap the SCV twice more, then get out before even losing any damage. Gets to 19 hit points, barely taking any hits on that probe. It's really important
19 hit points, what a failure.
It's really important to get in there and get that scouting, and also to harass your opponent's SCV, damage several SCVs, and that's going to be important later, perhaps. There's nothing to lose by doing that, especially since Huck's good enough to go back home, make sure he builds all his probes on time. He's chrono boosting that first stalker out, and I really like that Huck is doing something that a lot of Protoss players are not, and harassing big time.
Yeah, definitely important to do. And yeah, that's something just important in general. You got to be proactive all the time. I would say even especially as a Protoss player against the Terran in this kind of a situation, you know. If you got stalkers, you got to be running around the map. You got to be trying to poke if you can.
Yeah, he's going to take the watchtower with the stalker right now, which isn't extremely significant considering both players are going for an expansion, but it lets him know for certain, okay, nothing is coming, and it also puts Nada in the dark a little bit because Nada has not yet seen whether or not an expansion is going up. Oh, tries to chase the SCV, but barely misses it. The SCV actually may... No, the stalker, the second stalker of Huck, which he is sitting on the map, is going to deny the SCV, and now Nada completely in the dark.
Oh, goes down before it even makes it the ramp. Not going to have any information at all.
That light hanging over the ramp on Antigua Shipyard was the light at the end of the tunnel for that SCV. Was that a little too far? I think I took that a little too far. I was like a little bit too much.
No, that
works.
I think that works.
All right, here we go. Stalker pressure from Huck. Going to damage that bunker a little bit.
He did run into the light. He's now seeing all of his dead SCV relatives. I wonder if Protoss players, what would ever happen if the Protoss, you know, they bring back like Zealots and Dragoons as new units, right? I wonder if what would happen if they brought back an old SCV as a unit. Is that how they make probes?
That'd be kind of cool.
One of the mysteries of life. Huck putting out a couple more gateways now. And I'm glad to see that we're going to see a little bit of a macro game here. Huck, I feel like lately we've been seeing him lose when he goes for something a little bit greedy and gets caught by a bit of a rush that he wasn't able to anticipate. And so, you know, he's playing it a little bit skimpy, expanding on just this 1 gateway, getting only 2 extra gateways after that. So, but Nada is just going to playing a macro game as well right now, so it's not going to be anything too crazy.
You know, Huck has actually warped in a few more units here. He's actually warped in a total of 6 Zealots.
That is...
And he may actually attack considering that Nada only has 1 bunker, and the bunker was slightly damaged earlier by the pressure. This is actually a really nice timing by Huck. You know, this is something that nobody expects to see, and here it comes. No SCVs ready to repair. It looks like he's going to target down the bunker.
They are pulled off, but can they get there in time? No, the bunker goes down, and the Zealots are now wreaking havoc amongst the SCVs. He tries to put down another bunker. There's a lot of Marines there, so Huck is going to have to fall back.
And Huck actually going to lose all of his Stalkers. No, Nada not chasing immediately. Does not have concussive shells.
Yeah. And more Zealots being warped in to join the fight here. He might go up and try and kill a few more Marines.
This is a really interesting 3-gate timing by Huck. Continuing to kill more SCVs. The Stalker's already microing back in fear. He does prevent the bunker from going up and actually kills a few Marines. An okay trade for Huck overall. Right now the worker count 33 probes to 27 SCVs, but with mules the difference in income is negligible.
That's really interesting though. He was targeting down SCVs. I think that was the point, is to try and kill SCVs, because he was continuing to make probes at the same time. So it's not like he was trying to, you know, I mean, it was only 3 gateways. It was nowhere near an all-in. It was just full pressure.
Definitely a pressure-oriented build.
But I like that he was trying to, he's like, all right, well, it's going to be better for me to kill off SCVs here. And he was mostly getting those. Of course, partly that's because they were in the front engaging the Zealots, but very interesting little attack there.
You know what I really like about this type of build? Even though, you know, he killed a few SCVs, he also killed a decent amount of Marines for Nada as well. So now Huck can actually kind of sit back and safely get those double forge upgrades. He's doing that right now. He knows that Nada's not going to have a big push coming. He's going to have something that Huck can now manage, because Huck did save some of his units. He traded okay. It's cross positions, for example. He's got the watchtower. He knows what's going on. He's going to see this push coming right now. He's got total vision of the map.
And he's got...
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, he's adding more gateways. He's doing everything correctly.
Yeah, and he's got several sentries is all I was going to add on the top of his ramp. So again, even if a medium-sized push, because he knows it's not going to be a big one, if a medium push came out to put pressure back on him, he knows he can hold it, because he can put down some force fields. And we don't see any ghost tech coming out, so that's not going to be an issue right now.
Yeah, absolutely not. And the unit's walking right up to the watchtower. Huck sees them, pulls his Stalker back. He's got more than enough to defend this. Killed a few SCVs, traded armies okay. Now he's like, all right, I'm pretty fine here, actually. I think I'm going to be able to hold this no matter what. I've got 1-1 finishing up before your +1 is even going to finish. Ghost Academy on the way for Nada, and Huck may take a risky third here. It looks like he's preparing to, at the very least.
And we do see the Ghost Academy almost completed now. And yeah, Huck is pushing out to take a third. He's make a lot of Zealots. He's really depending on those Zealots. Oh, he's going to lose these Stalkers. Oh, he's going to lose one.
I'm not entirely sure why he thought that...
Face checking that.
Well, he's going to actually be able to force field. Nice positioning on his units. Oh, almost trapping all of Nada's units, but deciding not to commit at the last second.
Oh, 1-1 had just finished for him, too. That would have been a good chance, but doesn't want to risk it. I mean, he would have been risking the game on that attack. And he wasn't sure how much Nada had there.
I really like that, though. At first I thought, oh, he's moving these units down there to possibly take a third, but actually he was just setting up a really nice flank. He's not going to have any units in his main for this drop, though. He's sending them back, sending only Stalkers, though, and the drops are going to be unloaded by then.
There's 2 medevacs full. That's not going to be enough for those Stalkers to deal with. Finally realized that he pulls back most of the Stalkers. One does bite the dust. Here he is trying to engage. And Huck is just trying to deal with this with Warpins. Finally, he brings his main army back because there's more units being dropped in. Nada has buried almost his entire army into Huck's main.
Yeah, he's going to actually only be able to save a few of these units, but he's targeting down so many of Huck's. Positions his units to the back so the Zealots cannot really engage. A beautiful trade for Nada. These force fields going to not really accomplish a whole lot considering they're already backed up against the wall. And it looks like the majority of Nada's units do get taken out, but a nice trade for Nada nonetheless, and he did kill a decent amount of probes. Right now the worker count 51 SCVs to 40 probes.
Yeah.
And as far as the army size goes, Nada up about 300 minerals in value.
And Nada taking a third base in addition to that attack. While that attack was going on, Huck still at 2 bases right now, and a little surprised he's not actually moving out to immediately take that third, because he did survive that attack with a lot of extra. He's got the army right now. He knows he can survive anything that Nada would throw at him at the moment. He has a Templar out as well.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about him not taking that third base, because if Nada... Well, he's lost so much of his army that he's in the top spot right now, because if he does try to take a third, Nada may just very well kill it. But if he doesn't take a third base, Nada doesn't even have to attack him since he's got that third up, and in fact, Huck does not even know about that third base. So he's really in the dark right now. A tough place to be, and another pretty big drop coming in. In fact, 3 drops. 3 ghosts here are going to be able to perhaps EMP from the low ground. I really like this.
Huck trying to target down the medevacs. He kills the medevac off with a few units inside of it. A nice small win, but he's going to have to win a big victory here if he's going to come out on top. Feedbacking one of the medevacs, making it damage. Is he going to get the last hit on it?
No! And an EMP hitting a few of those units as well. Nice job using the ghosts on the low ground. Nada pulling ahead a little bit more in supply.
Man, this is such a tough spot for both players.
It definitely is, man.
Again, both these guys are at 1-1 right now, if I remember correctly, in the series. So, such an important match for both players. If they win, they're very close to advancing. If they lose, they're very close to being eliminated.
He is going to scout this third base, but at the price of losing his pylon. And right now, Huck in a tough spot. One thing he's got going for him is he is going to have 1-1. He's going to have this nice 1-1 timing. He does have charge. He's going to have, or excuse me, 2-2. He's got 1-1. He's got 2-2 finishing up right now. He's going to have sentries to add Guardian Shield to that as well, so he may be able to attack Nada at the right moment with that upgrade advantage. Will he decide to do it? Is he going to just try to take a third base? I'll be a little bit disappointed if he does. 2 drop ships coming towards the main base of Huck. He only has enough for 1 feedback, and the medevacs actually don't have enough energy to where that will kill them, so this Templar are not going to be enough.
Oh, but he actually sees. Is he going to go in? He actually goes in with the medevac with less energy, and is going to go in for that attack anyway. Huck fending off the front. I don't know if he even realizes there's an attack in the back. He is warping in some zealots. Is it going to be enough, though? It's not. It's just going to buy a little bit of time for him to get his stalkers back up here.
But he is killing a lot of Nada's units in the middle of the map in the meantime, and that's really going to help him out because that third base of Nada is actually not a planetary. So if he attacks that right now, he may be able to take it out. He's actually going to break the rocks first. It does give Nada some time to prepare. He has a decent amount of forces at his natural. This is going to be a tough attack for Nada to defend. If he does, though, the game will basically be his. Scan going off here. He does see it. He confirms how many units there are. An Archon joining in the mix. There's no Stalkers in this mix, though, so with good micro from Nada, he should be able to defend it. Huck realizes this. He has no Stalkers. He has to turn around. Meanwhile, though, Nada dropping here, and Huck completely defending this, having Stalkers in position. Zealot's being warped in as well. Nice micro by Nada, getting the best out of it as he can.
Yeah, gets a couple Stalkers at least. Yeah, that would have been a good opportunity. Huck might not have realized in the heat of that battle that Nada had not gotten 2-2 yet. 2-2 is about to complete for Nada, so they're actually going to be even in upgrades in mere moments. There they go, they finish. So now they're even, but Huck did have an advantage for a moment. Nada has a little bit of an advantage in the supply, but it's really going to be a positional battle. It's going to come down to if the EMPs land well, if the force fields go off well, and we might see a little bit of a battle here. Nada has the tower. He knows that army's approaching.
Here they come. They're attacking from 2 sides.
Oh, EMPs, all of the sentries. There will be no force fields in this battle. Huck is going to have to chase him as he kites with those units for days. He cannot trap them with force fields.
Well, this is actually a pretty good engagement for Huck, taking out all the medevacs here. The Archons still with most of their shields, and Nada on the run. Even upgrades for these players, but Nada having to pull all the way back to his ramp. A really good trade for Huck, and Huck trying to claw his way back into this.
Yeah, he can kite for days, but at the end of the week, you end up at the edge of the map. There's no more kiting that you can do, and that's exactly where Nada is right now. He's been forced back into his base. If he falls back now...
Oh, this pylon forcing Nada to be in the wrong place, but it looks like he may have enough units to defend this. Huck Zealots at the back, not engaging.
They're trying to squeeze through to attack those Marauders. He's just got a little bit of room to maneuver. The Zealots bearing down. The Archons are getting low on hit points now, but will it be enough? It looks like he's barely going to force back Huck's forces.
But Huck is doing a decent amount of damage to the SCVs here. The problem is, Nada now has a much larger army and has a huge counterattack potential on Huck's very undefended third.
And critically, Huck did lose all of his expensive units there. He lost the Archons. He was trying to warp in more Zealots to add to that, but he lost the Archons, he lost the sentries, and so he can't quite control the battle as he wants to right now. And Nada has been macroing up his army a little bit better, is at a 40 supply lead at the moment, and is getting 3-3, which Huck critically is not.
Yeah, Huck does not have the resources to spend on that right now. The fourth base for Nada has been made into a planetary. There are 2 drops coming into Huck's main base, which are going to be completely undefended. Nada, if he wants to, will be able to unpower all of Huck's production.
And there is the drop, massive drop. Lots of Zealots being warped in right on top of those units so they can get some hits as soon as they finish warping, but that means they take damage. as they're warping in, and not very much damage done. Finally, the rest of Huck's army is going to come back and help clean this up, but they did their work.
Nada critically not actually saving any of those units.
Maybe not. I thought he was going to save the last of it. Oh, dear.
So many drops coming to the third base of Huck. He has warped in a few Templar to help hold this. He's going to make them into Archons immediately. But you know what? Huck cannot be everywhere at once, especially with how small his army is compared to Nada's. He's already sent a few of his units down to that third base location. He's running his units back and forth from his main to his third, never really sure where Nada's going to attack. He doesn't have any observers on the map to spot for drops, so he's in a tough spot. He's actually getting +1 plasma shields rather than +2 armor or attack, and I like this considering how many Archons he has. And this drop is actually going to be really well defended. He actually comes in at the right moment. Feedback's one of the drops.
And Nada falls back. A wise move. He actually doesn't know if Huck has Storm or not. He actually, let me rephrase, he doesn't know that Huck doesn't have Storm.
That's true. Hey, I have to actually come out and say something here. This is actually driving me a little bit crazy. Nada actually doesn't need to be doing these drops since he's so ahead. He's actually giving Huck now a chance to defend every drop well and come back, and that's exactly what's been happening. Huck is clawing his way back in supply, catching these drop ships, moving out on the map, being aggressive, attacking this third base. Not a ton of units for Nada here to defend this third. He's going to lose this small army.
And forced to lift to get out of the way to let the SCVs get in the battle. And they are just dying left and right to these Zealots. And Huck has taken on half of Nada's army while the other half comes in from behind. Looks like Nada will clean up though. Huck forced to engage or just be tracked down by the concussive shells. He's going to lose his army again. Oh man, and that drop doing damage in the main as well.
I really feel like Huck could have just killed those SCVs and run away, and instead he lost a ton of his army. He is going to defend this drop, and again, the drops are the only way Huck is staying in this game. Nada is just giving him free units left and right. Sure, he's unpowering some gateways, but it's not worth losing 2 dropships full of units to kill 2 pylons, Moltreb. It's just not.
No.
Nada is giving him a chance to claw his way back in here, but again, now Nada at 3-3 upgrades, Huck at 2-1-2, getting that +1 shields. I think a great choice considering it's a little bit less expensive, and he's got so many Archons in the mix, it's a great choice.
Yeah, definitely, especially with all the Archons, as you mentioned. It makes a ton of sense to get that shield upgrade.
I'm not sure if Huck's going to be able to hold this one, but he does have a lot of Archons. It's all going to depend on Nada's micro.
Oh, and Huck's trying to fall back. Excuse me. Trying to fall back up the ramp to get a better position so he can get the Zealots in front. They do charge down the ramp, but the Archons have popped so quickly to the Mass Marauder fire. This might be the end for Huck right now. GG! Nada has come out on top, and he brings himself to a 2-1 score in this group. Huck, who I think was the favorite of this group, perennial Code S player, who has not really dropped out of Code S in a long time, is finding himself in danger of going back down to Code A here in the first up and down matches he's had to play in a long time.
Absolutely, man. I mean, in that game, Huck did everything right. He was way behind, but he defended the drops beautifully. He always knew, he had units prepared for every drop, and even though he didn't have observers, his instinct was actually so good on knowing when the drops are going to come. And Nada, I was getting a little bit concerned for Nada because even though he was up like 60 supply at one point, he just kept dropping. And if you continue to drop like that when you're behind in supply and your opponent just shuts down every drop, then suddenly you're like, oh, well, now I'm only 10 supply ahead. And then when the attack hits your third, you're actually 10 supply behind. And you're like, uh-oh, this is actually a tough spot. But Nada had that planetary up at the top right that always was mining no matter how many times Huck attacked the third base. The fourth base was still there, uncontested. And I feel like if Huck had just killed the SCVs at the third and then run away a little bit earlier, would have been able to escape with the majority of his Archons at the very least, especially since he had those Stalkers that weren't going to get away, use the Stalkers to distract away the rest of his army. Then he actually could have played an okay game since he was going to be ahead on workers, maybe take a fourth base, but instead, he lost all of those units, and from there, Nada was like, well, I have this one time and just kill you, I have 3-3, and you don't. I'm going to attack you right now. And at that last battle also, Huck decided to try to run up his ramp. The units were already there. To try to run up allowed him to, allowed Nada to basically kill 4 Archons before the real battle even started.
Yeah. And he kind of knew that when you were talking about before where he should have killed those SCVs and gotten away. He knew that, and he tried to get away, and the army caught him just at the tail end of his escape, and the concussive shells were hitting his Zealots, so he's like, well, these Zealots are just going to get slowed down and killed anyway, so I might as well attack, and then he lost his army. So we're going to take a quick 5-minute break before we come back for the last few games of the group. Don't go anywhere.